Hello, my witchlings and wanderers. I am back. For those of you who may be subscribers and noticed my absence and not following me on social media, my phone completely died last weekend. And the week before that, it had died. I brought it to get fixed. Obviously, that didn't work. It lasted about 48 hours and it was gone. So, please forgive my long absence. I finally got a new phone. I'm not sure if my skin tone is appearing correctly. It may take some time for me to get things properly adjusted per the new... Okay, that's a little bit better. New phone. New phone, same lighting, still have to make adjustments. For those who are new to my channel, I am Beauty Heathen and my channel is dedicated to 3 things. The first of which is I do educational content through the medium of cosmetics. I do magical demonstrations, teaching how to do different things. And the third of which is I do readings. Now, you may see with the cards in front of you may be assuming that I'm here to do a reading today, but that is not what I'm delving into today. A good friend of mine informed me and made me aware of something that happened to her, and I felt it was especially important to delve into this subject matter, especially for those of you who may be new to divination or wanting to delve into doing tarot readings, all of that kind of stuff. I'm going to do this as eloquently as I can. I'm going off the cuff, but I prepared, this isn't the whole deck, but I prepared some of the deck to help guide me, try to educate anyone, especially who's new to divination practices, or if you're not new and are somehow unaware that all divination forms, especially when it comes to reading cards, have a code of ethics. And I did a video not that long ago on Magickal Ethics, which I'll post somewhere up here. But I didn't delve into the divination side of things. And this isn't just, I've always said I am not a gatekeeper in any way, make, shape, or form. Everyone has their own style. Everyone has their own techniques, mentality of things. But what happened to my friend was tantamount to spiritual rape. And I know that may sound like a harsh thing to say, but especially for the people who are just getting into divination practices, it is fundamental to be mindful and respectful of other people's spiritual beliefs. Not everyone is okay with tarot readings or card readings being done on them. If you have been watching my content so far, you have seen that by and large I stick to situational readings. True crime, trying to gain insight into the events that led up to somebody's death, as well as trying to help find out who did it and will justice be done. That's a situation. I did a reading on Carmageddon. Again, that was a situation. It may have involved people, but by and large, I delved into the situation at hand. When it comes to doing readings on people, I have largely stuck to public figures. I did a reading that was requested of me on SM Creepshow art, which I will also link in here. But what you do not know, if you saw that video already, is I actually did 2 readings for Shannon. That's not me doxing her. She is freely said her first name. When I was doing the reading for Shannon, the reading started diving into very personal things. And because of that, I actually uploaded that reading separately and then re-recorded for public consumption. Because when it comes to doing readings, anyone that you are doing a reading for who has specifically requested a reading, you are bound by a certain code of ethics. It is no different than if you were Christian and you were going into a confessional and talking to a priest. They are bound to keep what you divulge to them to themselves. It is no different than when you go to a doctor. They are mandated by law not to discuss or convey your medical history or experience without your consent. The same is true as if you're going to a therapist. They are not allowed to discuss what you say, what you do, unless, of course, there is some extreme indication that you are planning on hurting yourself or someone else. The same ethical code applies to doing divination. I have done readings for many people in my life. Some of them are YouTubers, some of them are not. I do not in any way, make, shape, or form violate the trust that I have built between myself and the person that I've done a reading for. Any readings that I have done, the content of those readings stays strictly between myself and the person I have done them for, unless they have given their expressed permission for me to do a public reading for them. And even then, if I do a public reading, if it starts going into a realm that is too personal, that I feel crosses that line between what they might be okay with the public seeing and what they might not be okay with the public seeing, I do not cross that line. Because I tend to be a private person, and I know many other people are, especially those who do not show their face on social media platforms, and especially those who are also fellow YouTubers. So I wanted to give that little information leading into this. And with that, I kind of wanted to delve into not only what you do to prep yourself to do a reading, but to also cover more of the fundamentals. So when you are doing a reading of any kind or divination of any kind, it is extremely important to protect yourself and the space in which you are doing the reading. Now, the reason why I say that is especially if you are someone like me who has mediumship abilities, who has the proclivity to attract things that you don't necessarily want staying in your sacred space. It is important to clear the energy of the space that you are working in via smoke cleansing, chanting, You can ring tingsha bells, anything that's going to energetically cleanse the space that you're working in. I also highly recommend doing crystal grids, especially if you are going to be doing a lot of readings, like I often have been doing. And it would be as simple as doing a piece of selenite and a piece of tourmaline in the four corners of the room or your house or both. The selenite keeps the black tourmaline cleansed and charged at all times, so you don't have to do anything special. So it's always necessary to protect yourself and your space. Focus and then act. When you are going into a reading, you want to make sure you center yourself, mind, body, and spirit. You want to allow yourself to get into that headspace of you are opening up your intuition. You are focusing your abilities in an effort to best help guide in whatever kind of divination you are doing, be it for a personal client, be it for a public video of any kind. We are all connected. It is really important to remember, especially when you're doing readings, that the universal energy that you are calling upon to help you divine and provide the information is connected to everyone, especially fellow readers and things of that nature. So when you're going into doing a reading, it's important to be very specific in what energy, what information you're seeking, because otherwise it can become very muddled and confused. Have courage, especially when you're delving into doing any kind of divination work. If you have never done it before, I know it can seem a bit nerve-wracking or scary, especially if you were brought up in a faith that condemns divination of any kind. But keep in mind that when you focus your energy and when you focus your intention, it should always be in an effort to help, because you are seeking to either help someone else, obtain information for yourself if you can, or look into a situation to try to provide some sort of guidance and clarity. So make sure you call on divine energy. Make sure you call on the higher powers, whomever they may be, and know that you are protected and safe in doing so. Know your fears. And the reason why knowing your fears is especially important with doing readings is because you have to be able to separate the things that you're afraid of from what you are getting. I don't know if I'm making sense with that. You want to try to have very neutral energy when you're doing readings, especially if you are a manifester or someone whose energy has the ability to corrupt a reading, like mine can, if I'm not careful. So whenever I go into a reading, I try to make sure before I start anything to clear away any anxieties, any thoughts that can be hurtful to myself or in obtaining the reading. It's very important to try to clear your mind as best you can and allow yourself to obtain the information as clearly and neutrally as possible for accuracy purposes. Embrace spirit. Goes along with we are all connected. Don't be afraid to invite in your ancestors, your guides, your guardian spirits that surround all of us, whomever they may be, because they will always make sure that you are safe. And they will always seek to protect you when you are opening up your intuition in order to divine information. Trust in the energy, trust in the magic that is not only in the cards, but within yourself. Trust in your intuition. Trust that you are able to help people in the work that you do. Be patient. It takes time to develop and hone your intuition. It takes time to be able to learn to read cards accurately and clearly in order to be able to help people. So one of the things I recommend is if you're getting into divination of any kind, start by reading your friends, have them come to you with a concern or something of that nature. Try your best to make sure it's something that you don't have previous information on, and try to read the situation so that they can give you in real time confirmation whether or not what you are intuiting is correct. Forgive me, I hate the word psychic because there's very negative connotations that are attached to that word, especially with the way that those 1-900 numbers in the middle of the night call us and spend $4 a minute in order to get information or assistance. This always irritated me. Be without malice. Just as knowing your fears is important in order to protect yourself and try to release anything that you may be holding on to so you can be as neutral as you can. Especially in the times where you are doing a reading for a client and they may have given you some insight or information into the situation, or if you are reading on someone you may not care for personally, or, as we all do, we tend to take the side of our friends over the people who may have upset them or may be upsetting them. It's equally important to try to let that go so that you read the situation clearly. So you want to go into things without hope, without anger, without fear, all of that kind of stuff, so that you can try to read the cards as accurately as possible. Do not fear the unknown. This is very important because, especially for those who have seen some of my reading videos already, you have likely seen times where things have come up in readings that I did not expect to see or get for information. So don't be afraid with being presented information that you may be unaware of going into a reading. It will happen. It happens all the time. We are the messengers. We don't have all the answers. We are only here to intuit the information we are presented to help the person with their inquiry as best as we can and as honestly as we can. Heed the messengers. And again, there have been readings on my channel where I have started intuiting something a certain way, and then I flipped a few more cards and said, wait, I had that wrong. And you can start to feel within yourself, okay, what I was saying wasn't wholly accurate, and I'm being presented with more information. Don't be afraid to change the message while you're doing the reading if you feel that the message that you were providing isn't accurate. Personally, I get this sensation in my body or in the pit of my stomach. Almost think of it as though if you're intentionally telling a lie. It's kind of along those lines that you get that feeling inside of you that says, okay, this isn't accurate. That also helps you hone your intuition and helps you recognize your body's signals as to whether or not you are intuiting information correctly. So if you don't feel comfortable using a pendulum, I know I started off with a video about that, because it helped me personally hone my intuition. If you're not comfortable doing that, try paying attention to your body. Sorry about the background noise. The people are out on their freaking motorcycles. Try to pay attention to your body and how it feels when you're telling the truth versus when you're telling a lie. And that also helps guide you as to whether or not you're intuiting the information correctly. Hear the ancient ones. So, the powers that be, if you're calling on a spirit, if you're calling on a specific person, they all convey information differently. Sometimes I will get imagery pop into my head. Sometimes I will hear something. The information that we get from spirit doesn't come necessarily in a paragraph where they tell you every single aspect of the thing that you're trying to find information on. You have to be able to pay attention to the signs when you get them in the moment. And I know that may sound very difficult, but it's something that comes with time and practice. It goes back to this be patient card. Over time, that will come. Need and necessity. When you're doing a reading, sometimes you will have it happen that the person you are doing the reading for needs to hear specific messages, whether they want to hear it or not. But you also want to do your best to try to cater to the information that they're seeking as well. It's like if you have someone come to you and say, hey, can you help me find out about a job or anything, and will my career flourish or something like that, you don't want to give them a reading on their health. uh, you know, there can be outside influences that may impact things, but you don't want to be like, okay, so instead of giving you a reading on the thing that you requested, I'm going to give you a reading on these other random things because you're not helping them with the thing that is their primary concern. Now, it can also happen that when you're doing the reading on that primary concern, that other things may pop up. And if it does, convey it. Because if other things pop up, they need to hear it. They're supposed to hear that message. But do also try to hone in on the thing that they are asking about. Seek the lesson. Sometimes when you're doing divination and readings, you aren't just guided with information that they're supposed to hear, but you may be heeded to provide them advice from spirit in order to help facilitate them on their path that they're seeking to go down. So keep in mind, doing readings is very much like going to a therapist when you're asking for help, or a spiritual counselor. You're giving them the information as you can find it, but you're trying to help them as best as you can as well. Know your power. This is all about trusting yourself, trusting your intuition, trusting your ability to assist the person or persons you are doing the reading for. Surrender to the flow. This is also something that takes a lot of time. And often when I'm going into divination work, I will go into a sort of meditative state for a while in order to really focus and open up my intuitive chakras and allow that divine information to start flowing in and through me, so that when you bring up cards, you're able to read them per the situation that you're seeking information on. I'm sorry if this may sound repetitive in some way, but it is. It comes with practice. It is something that takes time. As I said in my reading or my video on how to use a pendulum, unless you have honed your intuition, the pictures on these cards are just pictures. You know? Unless you have something that a certain subject that you're looking to get information on, unless you have developed your intuition and really gone through the practice of opening up your intuition, going through these steps and honing your abilities, the pictures on those cards will never be intuited correctly. You know what I mean? And that's how not only you build your reputation, but how you build your own skills. Stay strong. It is very important to know that this work takes energy out of you. So, for example, when I'm doing readings and things like that, it doesn't matter if I've eaten before I do the reading or whatnot. That opening your intuition and really going into the reading and the information it does take energy out of you. So don't be surprised if you feel tired afterwards, if you are hungry or thirsty afterwards, or even during the process. Frequently, you guys hear me drinking water or something while I'm doing readings. It's because it takes energy. Yes, my room is also often hot and humid as well, and the lights don't help, but doing readings, it's like developing muscle. It doesn't just take time to develop your intuition and hone it so that you can provide accuracy. It also takes time to build up the energetic strength in order to do full readings. So start off slow. Start with 1 card or 3 cards or 4 or 5 cards. Start slow and then slowly work your way up. That is why I have gotten to the point where I can do multiple decks in a reading, because I have taken time to energetically strengthen myself to the point where handling multiple decks, depending on the type of reading I'm doing, doesn't just suck the life out of me. Okay? So, if you feel yourself getting tired, stop, walk away, do something for yourself to re-energize. Show that you care. This goes back to how I started off this video. One of the fundamental tenets of doing tarot or readings or divination in any way, make, shape, or form, especially if you are doing it for someone else or on a situation or on someone else, it is always important to go into that with compassion. And remember to treat others as you would want to be treated, and that means showing them respect. And going back to how I started off this video, part of that comes in with being mindful and respectful not only of other people's spiritual paths, but cultural backgrounds as well. Not everyone is open to and accepting of divination work, especially tarot cards, and it's especially prevalent for those who are brought up in the Christian faith. First. Second of all, when you start going into people from other cultural backgrounds, I know this is particularly true of people necessarily of African descent, be they African American, from tribal communities in Africa, anything of that nature. Generally, this does not apply to everyone. Not everyone holds these beliefs, but I'm giving you a general sense of things. They tend to steer further away from tarot type divination because it tends to hold negative connotation to them. I take a lot of time, a lot of care to educate myself on other cultures. I take a lot of time and a lot of care to be mindful that if someone, anyone, if they say, please don't do a tarot reading on me because it goes against my spiritual beliefs, my cultural beliefs, I don't do it. It is absolutely 100% a spiritual violation to disrespect somebody in that way. I do not care who that person is, whether I like them or not. You do not cross that line. If you are somebody who holds strong beliefs about somebody, do not violate someone else's boundaries like that. Because you wouldn't want it to happen to you. And violating those boundaries is absolutely tantamount to spiritual rape. Because now you've crossed that line where they have said, please do not do this. And if you are so entitled in your mentality to say, well, it's freedom of speech and I can do what I want, I'm here to sit here and remind you that just because you can does not mean you should. And I'm sorry if I'm sounding particularly angry right now, because I frickin' am. I am absolutely livid this happened to her. And yes, I know who the person is, and no, I'm not saying anything. It is not my story to tell. Again, when people come to me in confidence, it stays in frickin' confidence. This is no different. And it's not just because that's how you get people to respect you and come to you in their time of need, but imagine if you are somebody who is upset and you have been really hurt by something, and you go to somebody and then that person spreads around what happened to you without your consent. It's the same thing. If someone, anyone, says, please do not read me, you don't do it. End of story. Because your curiosity doesn't frickin' matter. Showing respect to someone else who makes a request of you, especially in that way where it may violate their spiritual beliefs, is a gross violation and an unethical thing to do. I don't care who you are. I don't care what size platform you have. You do not ever cross that line. Sorry. Respect your boundaries and the boundaries of others. Seek your answers within. This goes back to trusting your intuition and paying attention to how your body reacts and feels when you're trying to intuit different information and intuit the cards correctly. Observe in silence. It's okay when you lay down cards to sit and look at all the cards together to see how they work together and they play off one another. Sometimes, depending on the readings that I do, sometimes cards fall on top of other ones in very interesting ways, such as to suggest that they go together. But sometimes it's not one on top of the other. Sometimes it's like this one coordinates with this one. Or maybe they fall next to each other. Something of that nature. The only way that you are going to figure that out is to quiet your mind, clear your head as much as you can, and really take a few moments to look at everything you're being presented and try to intuit the story or the information you're being given. See the truth. Now, I know as people, everyone, every single person walking the face of this planet has bias. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter your religion, your country of origin, the language you speak. We all have biases. Which is part of the reason, let me find the card, why entering into a situation to read it without malice, without agenda is so important in obtaining accurate information. It's like when I've done some readings on, I know I use the pizza term, but it's largely because the term pedophile or pedophilia is not looked upon favorably on YouTube. So yes, I use pizza in replace of it. And many of the people that I've gone into doing readings, I've had very surprising and unfortunately unhappy results for some of those people. But at the end of the day, in order to obtain the alleged truth, because again, nothing I say is a replacement for evidence or a legal investigation, is you have to put aside any ill will you may have towards somebody. And you also have to put aside expectation or hope, I guess you could say. I may hope for certain outcomes, but regardless of what I hope for, I try not to let that information into the reading until I've already figured out what I'm being actually told. And then, once you observe in silence, you see the truth, that is when you share what is coming to you. Challenge your perception. Sometimes the people, if you're doing a reading on a situation, anything of that nature, sometimes what you go in thinking will happen, you don't get. And it's okay to challenge those preconceptions you may have had before going into a reading of some kind. It's okay to change your mind on things as they come up. And it's okay if the information that you get isn't necessarily the information that you expect that you may have gotten. Because change is unavoidable. And again, if you've been watching my videos thus far, you probably have seen readings where I start to read it one way and then go, wait, hold up, I got it wrong. Let me fix what I'm seeing. After you're done, take time for yourself. Meditate. Do smoke cleansing. Clear your space again. Close the circle that you've opened in order to open your intuitive gifts. You kind of want, not close it down necessarily, but reduce that chakra being wide open, because that's when you start getting all the random information that's out floating in the universal energy. But do your best to bring that in and close it down a little bit. Take time after the readings to clear yourself, your mindset, all of that. Self-care is especially important. And nourish your soul. Refuel yourself. If you're hungry, eat something. If you're thirsty, eat something. If you are feeling drawn to do something after you do readings, do it, because your body is telling you not only what you may physically need, but what your spirit may also need in order to replenish itself, so that you don't completely drain your spiritual battery. So I hope this longer video I wasn't exactly expecting it to go this long, but that's okay. And my return to my channel, thank goodness. I can't tell you how much I missed you all and missed creating content for you. It's been a real void in my life these past couple of weeks with everything going on, and I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please don't forget to like, subscribe, set that bell to all to be notified of when I release new videos. And until next time, I wish all of you the brightest of blessings, and blessed be.